Hey everyone, welcome back to English Podcast for You, your cozy little corner on YouTube to practice English through real, natural conversations. I'm Leo.
And I'm Lily. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, wherever you are in the world, whether you're cooking, walking, commuting, or just relaxing with a warm drink.
Before we dive into today's topic, we just want to remind you that every single minute you spend listening to English, your brain is absorbing natural rhythm, sentence patterns, and real vocabulary. Even on days when you feel like your speaking isn't perfect, your listening is working hard behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Today, we're talking about something so many of you have requested: anime and English for anime fans. And quietly underneath all of that, how watching anime can actually help you with building confidence when speaking English.
So, Lily, before we start, I have a tiny confession to make.
Uh-oh, why do you have that guilty smile on your face? What did you do last night?
Well, I promised myself I would go to bed at 10 p.m. so I'd be fresh for our recording today. But at 1:30 a.m., I was still sitting in the dark whispering, just one more episode.
Leo, no. What were you watching?
It was an incredible fantasy anime. The main character was about to enter a huge tournament to save his kingdom, and the cliffhanger at the end of episode 5 was illegal. I couldn't stop.
I completely understand. That's the classic anime trap. But wait, were you watching it with English subtitles or English dubbing?
English subtitles, always. What about you?
Same here. Subtitles are actually amazing for English learners. You get to hear the emotion and the voice acting while reading natural English phrasing on the screen. It's like a hidden English lesson disguised as entertainment.
Exactly. You think you're just being entertained, but your brain is actually studying natural English vocabulary the whole time.
Okay, Leo, let's go back in time for a second. What was the very first anime that made you fall in love with the whole genre?
Oh, good question. I think it was a classic adventure show about a group of friends going on an epic quest to find a legendary treasure.
Wait, was it a shonen anime with lots of magic and high-stakes battles?
Yes, the central theme wasn't just physical power or fighting. It was really about deep friendship and never giving up. That's what caught my heart.
That theme of friendship is so powerful, isn't it? That's what creates such a massive global fandom. People from every country connect over these shared stories.
Right. Have you ever been to an anime convention, Lily?
Yes, once, a few years ago. Seeing all the amazing cosplay was incredible. People dress up as their favorite hero or even their favorite villain, and everyone is so supportive.
That takes a lot of confidence, honestly. To put on a costume and step out into public as a fictional character, that's real confidence building right there.
Oh, definitely. Speaking of confidence, my brother actually started reading English manga to build his vocabulary.
Really? Did it help him?
It made a huge difference. Because the artwork gives you context, reading manga in English doesn't feel overwhelming. If you don't know a word, the picture helps you understand the plot.
That's such a brilliant recommendation for anyone listening right now who wants an easy, stress-free way to practice reading. You know, Lily, when people think of anime, sometimes they think it's just cartoons for kids. But once you dive into a really good series, you realize how deep and emotionally mature the stories are.
Absolutely. In a standard Western TV show, the storyline can be fairly predictable. But in anime, the plot is often full of twists, emotional struggles, and complex character growth.
Exactly. Take the classic story arc of a hero. At the beginning of the story, the main character is almost never strong or confident. They're usually weak, misunderstood, or terrified.
Yes, that's my favorite trope. They start at zero. They fail miserably in their first battle. They make mistakes. But what makes us root for them isn't their raw power. It's their willingness to keep trying.
And isn't that exactly like learning a language?
Wow. I never thought about it that way, but you're so right.
Think about it. When you start learning English, or when you try to speak English with native speakers for the first time, you feel like the main character at episode 1 of an anime. You feel underpowered, clumsy, and nervous.
That awkward feeling when your mind goes blank or you pronounce a word incorrectly and your face turns red, that feels like losing a major battle against your own fear.
Right. But in every great anime, how does the protagonist build real confidence? They don't magically become a master overnight. They go on a quest, they train every day, and they surround themselves with supportive friends.
It's so true. And look at terms like hero versus villain. In English, a hero is the main protagonist who fights for good, while the villain is the antagonist who creates conflict. But in modern anime, the line between hero and villain is often blurry.
Yes, sometimes the villain has a tragic backstory, and you actually feel sympathy for them. And sometimes the hero has severe self-doubt.
Self-doubt is such a real human emotion. In real life, our inner self-doubt is kind of like our personal villain. It whispers, "Your English isn't good enough," or "People are going to judge your accent."
Ooh, that's a powerful metaphor. So confidence building is really about overcoming that internal villain, not worrying about being perfect.
Exactly. You don't need magical magic or a glowing sword. You just need the willingness to speak up, even if your grammar isn't 100% flawless.
Lily, if someone asks you for an anime recommendation, what genre do you usually suggest for beginners?
It depends on what they like. If they love magic, mythical creatures, and ancient kingdoms, I'd suggest a high fantasy adventure genre.
Oh, fantasy kingdoms are incredible. You get rich world building, magical abilities, and epic rivalries.
But if someone wants relatable, real-life English, I usually recommend the slice of life or sports anime genre.
Sports anime? Like a high school volleyball or basketball team entering a national tournament?
Yes, sports and slice-of-life shows focus heavily on natural, everyday dialogue. You hear characters talking about school, goals, disappointment, and especially friendship.
Ah, friendship. That's really the core of so many iconic anime series, isn't it? The belief that you don't have to carry your burdens alone.
It really is. In anime, when a protagonist is facing an impossible challenge or a terrifying villain, their friends stand right beside them. In English learning, having a learning community or a language partner provides that exact same strength.
That's why we love seeing all of you in the comment section. You are all part of our global English learning fandom. You encourage each other, share tips, and celebrate small wins together. You know, Lily, a lot of students ask me, is it better to watch anime with subtitles or dubbed in English? What do you tell them?
I think both have unique benefits. English dubbed helps you practice pure listening comprehension without relying on text. You hear natural tone, emotion, and conversational pacing. But Japanese with English subtitles helps you connect spoken English concepts in text with visual action, expanding your reading speed and vocabulary fast.
That makes total sense. If you're watching with English subtitles, you're constantly spotting words like quest, plot, adventure, tournament, or magic in context.
And because you're engaged emotionally in the story, those words stick in your memory much longer than if you were just memorizing a vocabulary list from a textbook.
Absolutely. Learning English through something you genuinely love, whether it's anime, music, or gaming, takes the pressure off. It turns study time into playtime.
I was actually reading this manga last week where the main character had to give a speech in front of his entire school, and he was terrified of messing up his words.
Oh, wow, that is literally every language learner's worst nightmare. How did he handle it?
Well, at first, his voice was shaking, but his best friend shouted from the crowd to remind him why he was standing up there in the first place. That small push gave him the courage to keep going.
That is so relatable. Sometimes all we need is just one supportive voice in our ear reminding us that making mistakes is completely normal.
Exactly. And that's what I love about the whole anime community. When you go to an anime convention, nobody's judging you for your outfit, your accent, or how well you know the lore. Everyone is just excited to share their passion.
Oh, 100%. I remember going to my first convention a few years ago. I was so nervous because I wanted to try cosplay for the first time, dressing up as a minor character from a dark fantasy series. I thought people would laugh or say I didn't look like the actual hero.
Really? What actually happened when you walked inside?
The exact opposite of what I feared. Within 5 minutes, 3 complete strangers ran up to me shouting, "Oh my gosh, your costume is amazing!" We ended up taking photos together and talking about our favorite manga chapters for nearly an hour.
See, that's the power of finding your people. Whether you're dressing up in cosplay or speaking a new language, when you step into a welcoming space, your anxiety just melts away.
It really does. It makes me realize that fear usually lives inside our own heads, not in reality. In most stories, the plot only moves forward when the protagonist takes a risk and leaves their comfort zone.
That's such a great point, Leo. Think about every classic adventure story. The main character never stays in their quiet, safe village forever. They have to pack their bags, step onto the open road, and accept the quest, even if they feel completely unprepared.
Accepting the quest. In real life saying, okay, I'm going to practice speaking English today, even if I stumble over my words. That is your personal call to adventure.
Yes, you are taking the first step out of your safe village. And sure, you might encounter a difficult grammar battle along the way or run into a confusing vocabulary villain, but that's just part of the journey.
Right, and you don't have to face those challenges alone. That's why friendship is such a massive theme in almost every genre, whether it's sci-fi, magic, or sports.
Speaking of sports anime, have you ever noticed how those shows handle failure? Like when a team loses a huge tournament match in the middle of a season?
Oh man, those episodes are always so painful to watch. The music gets quiet, everyone's sitting in the locker room in tears, and the disappointment feels so heavy.
It really does. But what happens in the very next episode? They don't quit. They analyze what went wrong, they train harder, and they come back stronger for the next battle.
Exactly. They treat a loss not as the end of the story, but as feedback. And if we can treat our language mistakes like that, just a temporary setback in a longer plot, our confidence will skyrocket.
I couldn't agree more. So if you're listening right now and you want a good recommendation to practice your English, try picking a show where the main character has to overcome huge odds through persistence.
Do you prefer watching shows with heavy magic and supernatural powers, or do you like stories that are grounded in real-world logic?
Honestly, I love a good balance. A fantasy kingdom with ancient prophecies is super fun, but I need the emotional struggles of the characters to feel real. If a hero never feels fear, I can't really root for them.
True, perfection is boring. It's the flaws, the doubts, and the small victories that keep us hooked on every episode.
Exactly. And speaking of getting hooked on a good story, my friend was telling me about this incredible manga she just finished reading in English, where the main villain actually turns out to be...
Wait, don't tell me, was it actually the protagonist's mentor all along? That is my absolute favorite plot twist in any manga.
No, even crazier. It turned out to be the main character's future version who had traveled back in time to stop a terrible disaster from destroying their entire kingdom.
Wow, talk about a dark, complex storyline. So technically, the main hero was battling against their own future choices. That is brilliant storytelling.
Right? And what was so interesting is that even though this future version acted like a ruthless villain, their whole motivation came from a desperate desire to protect their friends. It completely blurred the line between good and bad.
That's what makes modern anime and graphic novels so captivating. The story isn't just a simple adventure with clear right and wrong answers. It explores deep human emotions, regrets, and moral dilemmas.
Exactly. And because my friend read the entire series in English, she was constantly coming across complex vocabulary like redemption, consequence, and destiny. She said reading it with all that emotional tension made learning those tricky words so much easier.
That makes so much sense. When you're emotionally invested in the plot, your brain hangs on to every detail. You're not just memorizing words for a test, you actually care about what happens to the characters.
Precisely. That's why I always tell people who feel stuck with their English to find a genre they're genuinely obsessed with. If you love dark fantasy, dive into a fantasy quest with high-stakes magic. If you prefer sports, follow a team pushing through a tense tournament.
Or if you're like me, you just end up watching a slice of life comedy at 2 a.m. because you need something lighthearted after an intense, emotional season finale.
Hey, those relaxed everyday shows are secret gold mines for practical English. You learn casual slang, natural greetings, and how real friends tease each other or offer encouragement.
That encouragement piece is so important, especially for building real-world confidence. In so many shows, when a character feels completely overwhelmed, their squad steps up to remind them of how far they've come.
Yes, like when a teammate is terrified before stepping onto the court for a huge battle, and the team captain just places a hand on their shoulder and says, "We've got your back. Just play your game."
Man, why did that sentence give me actual goosebumps?
Because it's universally comforting. We all want to know that someone believes in us when we're stepping into something scary, whether that's a championship match or just speaking up in an English meeting.
That's so true, Lily. Every time you practice a new language, you're stepping into a bit of an unknown territory. But as long as you keep going, every mistake is just a stepping stone towards mastery.
You know, actually, I saw someone at an anime convention last year wearing a really cool quote about that. It said, "A hero isn't someone who never falls down. It's the person who keeps getting back up."
Ah, that's such a classic anime mantra, and it applies to literally anything in life. The real power isn't having flawless grammar from day one, it's having the resilience to keep trying episode after episode.
Speaking of wearing cool shirts at a convention, have you ever noticed how much detail goes into fan-made cosplay outfits? Some people spend months crafting armor, props, and weapons.
Ah, the dedication in the fandom is unreal. I saw a video online of a creator who spent 3 months building a set of giant glowing mechanical wings just for a single weekend event.
That level of passion is so inspiring. It takes so much patience, trial and error, and problem solving to make something like that come to life.
Exactly. And when you ask them about their build, their eyes just light up and they can talk for hours, completely forgetting to be shy or self-conscious.
That is the ultimate secret to confidence building right there. When your passion for the subject is bigger than your fear of making mistakes, the words just flow naturally.
I love that. So if you're listening right now, find your passion, whether it's manga, gaming, cooking, or music, and let that carry your English forward.
Actually, Leo, that reminds me of another great recommendation my cousin gave me recently for a brand new show that just came out.
Oh, really? Don't leave me hanging. What kind of show is it? Is it another high fantasy adventure or something a bit more grounded?
It's actually a mix of sci-fi and historical fantasy. The story follows a young cartographer who gets dragged into an epic quest to map out a lost kingdom that vanished from the world map 100 years ago.
A cartographer on a fantasy quest? That sounds super unique. Most shows in that genre just focus on a knight or a wizard with overpowered magic.
Right. But in this show, the main character doesn't have any magical power or incredible sword skills at all. He just has a sharp mind, a compass, and a deep curiosity about the world.
I love stories where the protagonist has to rely on their wits and resourcefulness rather than brute force. It makes every battle feel much more tense and strategic because the stakes are so high for a regular human.
Exactly. In every episode, he faces dangerous terrain, ancient traps, and even a mysterious villain who is trying to keep the kingdom hidden forever.
Sounds like the ultimate test of courage. It really goes back to what we were saying about confidence building. He has to trust his own knowledge and skills, even when he feels completely out of his depth.
Yes. And what's really cool is how he builds a team around him. He brings along a skilled archer, a scholar who can read ancient languages, and a street-smart guide. Together, they form this tight-knit squad where everybody brings something unique to the table.
That classic theme of friendship never gets old. When you have a team that highlights each other's strengths and covers each other's weaknesses, even an impossible quest starts to feel achievable.
Absolutely. My cousin actually watched the whole first season with English subtitles, and she said it was fantastic for learning descriptive language, words related to geography, survival, leadership, and trust.
That's such a solid recommendation. Adding that one straight to my watch list for this weekend.
Just make sure you actually go to sleep on time this time, Leo. No 2 a.m. marathons.
No promises. When a plot gets that good, self-control just completely flies out the window.
Fair enough. But seriously, whether it's through watching anime with subtitles, reading English manga, or chatting with fellow fans at a convention, immersing yourself in stories you genuinely love is the best way to grow your language skills naturally.
It really is. When you stop treating English like a stressful subject to study and start treating it as a key to unlock amazing worlds, stories, and communities, everything changes.
Your confidence grows step by step, one episode and one conversation at a time. You realize that you don't need to be a perfect, flawless hero to share your voice. You just need to be brave enough to start the journey.
Well said, Lily. Thank you so much for another wonderful conversation today.
Thank you, Leo, and a huge thank you to everyone in our fandom listening out there.
Keep practicing, stay passionate, and keep enjoying your favorite stories. Until next time, take care and keep learning.
Bye, everyone. See you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.